shout out Mike Luciano, because we had a conversation back when the NBA season, and I asked him, give me your forecast for what the Toronto Raptors are going to do this offseason. And he said they're going to bring back their key pieces like Chris Boucher and Thaddeus Young and expect the team to remain the same. They're not going to do any outlandish moves. That's not their style. And shout out to him for so far what's going on. And I liked how the Toronto Raptors wasted no time bringing back Thaddeus Young on that 2-year, $16 million deal. I thought that was smart. He was a truly gifted passer, and it was a weird year for him. He started off, he got traded from Chicago to the Spurs, and then, he was on the Spurs, and then he got sent to Toronto, and people thought of him kind of as an afterthought, and he really did a great job. And then Chris Boucher, he went from a year ago being like a Sixth Man of the Year candidate to being a really, really rough start to the year. But I give the credit to the man. He kept grinding, he kept working. And what happened? He ended the year pretty solid, and he got paid. That's what matters. He got paid, and I'm very happy for him. And the thing is that it's very interesting to see. You gotta love it when your recording cuts out. But yeah, I like this because, look, I know Christian Colocu is the guy they drafted, and he could be their center of the future. I think he could be playing 15-20 minutes a night this year for them. And they have Kem Birch, so you could argue, yeah, that's the center rotation with Precious Achiuwa and Thad Young and Pascal Siakam, all those guys being the center rotation. I wouldn't mind them going out and getting like a Bismack Biyombo or JaVale McGee, but I think the continuation of the players, bringing back Thad Young, $8 million. It's a $16 million deal for Thad Young and a $35.25 million deal for Chris Boucher, which basically that's 10 point something a year. And right there, that pushes them up against the salary cap. So they're basically over the salary cap. And I think it's interesting to see, the Toronto Raptors, I think all they need is a big man, because they have, in my opinion, point guard rotation the backcourt is literally Scotty Barnes and Fred VanVleet. Gary Trent Jr. is going to be sixth man. So this is also, I think, interesting, because if they get Gary Trent Jr. as the sixth man, I think he'd be a sixth man of the year. They have OG Anunoby at small forward, okay? Scotty Barnes can play there. They still have Thad Young, Pascal Siakam, Precious Achiuwa, Christian Colocu, and Kem Birch as the front court. OG Anunoby's the wing, with Steve Mikhailou arguably being his backup. I personally think, looking at this, I think if they can go in, Dante DiVincenzo is somebody allegedly that this team is interested in. Doesn't it make sense for them to go after a guy like Dante DiVincenzo, because he'd be the perfect backup for OG Anunoby? And that's something I think is that this team, really all they need is a guy who could be a two-way guy for them. I think they're just lacking a backup two-way guy. Okay, because Malachi Flynn is going to help back up. Malachi Flynn, Armani Brooks, and Delano Banton. I mean, some people might argue Delano Banton can help back up with Steve Mikhailou, OG Anunoby, but I think Banton, Brooks, and Malachi Flynn are better to back up Gary Trent Jr., Fred VanVleet, and Scotty Barnes in the backcourt. Then you have Pascal Siakam and arguably, I guess, either Precious Achiuwa or Kem Birch starting right now. And then you have Thad Young and Chris Boucher and Pascal Siakam, Kem Birch, Precious Achiuwa all be like their rotation right there. So that leaves, I know Precious, you could maybe argue, or Thad Young, you could maybe argue could play small forward, but really besides Steve Mikhailou, nobody's back there behind OG Anunoby. So I like what they've done with the approach, and I think they've done a really good job just being cautious and making the right moves. So this is where I want to hear about, what do you guys think of this? So do you think they should get a backup center and another backup wing? What other moves would you have them do? I want to hear your thoughts down below. Like and subscribe.